First, let me tell you what is the language of a computer. The language of a computer is simply binary language, zeros and ones, right? But for us to understand, we are talking in English language. It's like we are coding in whether you're taking a Java or Python, we are writing in terms of English. But at the end of the day, the computer can understand only zeros and right. It's just a piece of metal. Now, what is this natural language process? Natural language process. So let me tell you guys. Guys, if you're talking about this natural language process, okay, it is I'll simply say it is kind of intersection between taking if you're taking it as um, computer science, AI, artificial intelligence, and one thing which comes into existence, all as linguistics. Okay, so this is a kind of intersection which is present here. There's nothing but is your so it is an intersection between your computer science, your artificial intelligence, and linguistics. So it has to take up the task. Understand means it should be thinking in artificial way. Same time, it should understand. It should the answer which is giving. It should be in terms of a very natural and human understandable. Right now, let's go into details. So what is this? NLP is a field of AI that enables computers to understand, interpret, and generate human language. That's what just now we have discussed. So it has to be able to understand the human language and uh, how we are how we are talking, the sentiments, and it should focus on transforming the unstructured language into structured. So, guys, do you have any idea what do you mean by unstructured data, unstructured language data? What you are any idea, guys? Answer in chat. Yes, please. If you have any idea, you can answer. What do you mean by structured data? What is unstructured data? Exactly, Dhanvantri. It is tables, images, and videos. So these things comes on means like it tables is a kind of a structured data. If you're talking about um, documents, images, videos, audio, so all these things comes under the unstructured data. Okay. So this NLP focuses on this unstructured data, that is whether it may be audio, whether it may be a text, whether it may be image. So just taking those things into considerations, and it should be like it is converting them into kind of a structure ones. It should understand and it's giving in terms of how it we are able to understand. So this is a very basic thing. I'll not take much of time. So somewhere this evaluation of NLP somewhere in 1950s, 1990s, where we used to have the grammar rules, where we used to write all the things English in a written way, and right from 2000, where the probabilistic models came into pictures. Okay? And in 2010 is where the deep learning this thing came into picture. Deep learning is where we are from right from 2010 or somewhere where they were taking the word embeddings and this neural networks, RNN, recurrent neural networks came to. And from there, and somewhere in 2020s, this BERT, GPT, Llama, Cloud. So these are all the LLMs, what we have, large language models. This is a kind of a road structure, what we have evaluation of NLP, guys. And and talking about this, we can say map. kind of a roadmap. So here, friends, what we have is the foundational knowledge where we can see different foundational knowledge like the tools what we use here are NLTK, Spacey, and word embeddings and vectorizations. So friends, and while we are talking about this NLP, okay, so when you're talking about the NLP here, we have something called as tokenization. I mean, have something called as tokenization, stop word removal. I think might have heard it. I'll not take much of time on this. So it's just a brief introduction. What I'm has something called as tokenization. Yes, Ravi.
Students are saying that volume is too low.
Am I audible
You're
right
asking.
now? Am I audible right now?
Yeah, man. You're.
Okay. So guys, so here we have some terms in the NLP. We also we call it as a tokenization. So any idea about the tokenization? If not, let me tell in short. So here the tokenization is going to break the text into speech. I mean, break the text into tokens. Okay. So let us say if I have about a complete sentence called as um, let me give an example as I'm learning NLP. Okay. So here I'm going to split this I am this I as one token, I am as one token, and learning as another token, and NLP as another token. So total we have four tokens together. So coming to tokenization, again we have further sub processing which are present here. But thing is, here we'll be splitting the complete sentence what we have into number of tokens. Okay, so which is called as subwords. Next, so I'm just describing what we have it here. So bag of words. Okay, so if you're talking about the second, we can say another term what we generally use in NLP. It is a stop word removal. Okay, so name itself here what we can see is stop word removal. That means there are some repetitive words which doesn't hold much of any meaning, or else it is like a secondary word. Without the word also we can understand the meaning of the sentence. Okay. So let us say, or let's take the same example only. I'm learning NLP. Okay. So I'm having three words here and I'm learning NLP. Okay. So I can say I am is a much, I mean, it's like it's not a much important word. But what is the important words here? Learning NLP. So these are the important words and which is going to carry some weightage. Okay. So why to waste the vector here? So instead of that, I'm simply stopping this word. Okay. So once I look into the word learning NLP, I can understand what is the context of the sentence. Okay. So here is where I'm stopping this word. So this comes under the stop word removal. Okay. And another term what we have here in the NLP is stemming. So guys, you might be knowing this terminology, but since maybe some of you might not be have a much exposure to these words, so I'm just repeating this. Don't mind me. Okay. So here, what do you mean by stemming? Stemming means, let us say, if I have a word, um, okay, kind of playing, played, plays. Okay, so it is the same word, playing, played, or plays. Okay, but if what is the what is the raw word? I mean, it's like not a what is the root word I can say for this. So the basic word what we have here is the play. So instead of going with this adding some I mean adverbs here. So instead of that, better go with the plain word what we have, play. Okay, so that is what we call it as stemming. Means even though if you remove this ed or s or ing, the meaning of the word will not change. So why to go with this adverbs or a play, means keeping this as a singular, plural, and everything. So instead of this, go with the base word what we have. So this is what we call it as a stemming. Okay. So another term what we have in the NLP is lemmatization. Okay. So what do you mean by lemmatization, friends? So lemmatization is nothing but it is making the word more accurate or sensible, we call it as. So instead of, let me give an example. Instead of the word better, you can use the word good. Okay. So these kind of things. And another, the word what you are coming across here, it is the bag of words. Okay. Or else it is also called as BOW, bag of words. So what do you mean by bag of words? So bag of words means it is going to convert the text into vector. Okay. So what do you mean by vector, friends? So vector is nothing but let's take uh, a sentence. Let's say I love coding. This is a sentence. Let's say. Okay. Now, so for each and every word, so let's say I is not, let us say if I'm using this stop word here, so in that case, I'll not use this I. Okay. Love is the important word. So as per this stop words and this one, so I can use the word love. And as per the stemming, ing is not going to make a much of use. So instead of, I can simply go with the code. So it's not going to change the meaning of the sentence. Okay. So I'll just take the love and code. And for these two, I'll be assigning some numbers. Okay. So when I'm assigning some numbers to this, so why we are assigning numbers? Because instead of using the letters and all, we can communicate faster with the system with the help of numbers. Now this sentence will be converted into, maybe for this I'll be keeping some code. I'll take it as some code, maybe 0.43, and for code I can give some number as 0.37 kind of. So these numbers are called as vectors. Got it, friends? So the bag of vectors means when I have some sentences together with me and which has to be converted into vectors. So I'll be applying these rules, and based upon that, I'll be just cutting down the number of words, means like means like secondary words are which are not much useful for us. And instead of that, we are getting a much meaningful words. Will be going only with those words, and for those words I'll be assigning some numbers. So this is called as vectorization. Okay. So vectorization is very important in our, I mean, when you're going with the RAG or any if you're using any vector database. So this is how we'll be converting the uh, sentences into vectors. And yeah, another word what we have here is word to vec. Okay. Another term what we have is word to vec. So word to vec means it's going to map the words to dense vectors. Or else, uh, okay. So let me tell you, friends. So in the easier way, let us say, if I say king, so king, what can be the word we can map here? So king is, looking uh, in terms of gender. So we can map it to man or male. Okay. Similarly, when talking about queen, we can map this queen to female or women. Okay. So it's kind of where we are just mapping the words to the dense vectors, we call it as, like we are having some kind of relationship between these words, like instead of going with king, just go with the male, and like kind of users or persona. So there is where we'll be going with this word to words. Okay, so these are some of the word, I mean some terminology what we generally used in the NLP, uh, I mean natural language processing. Okay, and so this is the roadmap what we are talking about. So next, let's move on to the next slide, friends. So friends, here we have something called as NLP mechanics. So what is this NLP mechanics? So friends, just like initially what we have discussed, here in NLP, we will be dealing with the unstructured data. Okay, the unstructured data can be either document, means like text, it can be a speech, it can be a video, it can be audio. Okay, so here just now we are looking into this. Okay. Mm, okay, I'll come back to this slide. Why? Because before that, first we will need to understand this enterprise and all. So then we can come back. It's kind of a use case how we can come back to this. Okay. Now let's go to this next slide, friends. So why enterprise needs NLP? Why NLP is applicable everywhere, friends? Okay, so if you're going with unstructured data, so here we have some emails, we have to deal with the chats and docs. So text is present everywhere. Okay, so wherever there is a text is present, we need to deal with the NLP nowadays. Because why? Because if we want to automate, if we want a process to be automated, okay, so there is where it has to understand I mean the queries are, let us say if I'm taking the example, let's take about a chatbot. We want it to automate. Okay, so the chatbot should be able to understand the query raised by the person, the the person who is asking us a question. And if you're automating means it should be able to understand what the question is asking about, and based upon that, it should be answering the person in such a way that the user who means the person or user who is present there, the person should be able to understand the answer given by this automated chatbot. Okay, and now most of the enterprises is moving towards the AI and automation. It's like they want to make it automatic and they want to automate in that way. Okay, so here is where NLP plays a very important role, guys. Trust me, whether you go with the RAG, whether you take up the agents, whether you go with the chatbot, wherever it is, this NLP is going to play a very major role. And if you want to work in MS, see, at the end of the day, if you are working in a company, so we are related with the enterprises, right? So we have to make a project. We have to deal with the project, a real-time project, and also it should be industry oriented. Not means like, see, you will be doing some projects in your academics. So there, those are projects up to that level. But when you are going for the industry level, it should be something high end. So nowadays, now if you talk, now if you're considering most of the industries are enterprises, all the projects they are dependent upon the NLP. Okay, now let's see how this is making an impact on an enterprise. Okay, so in NLP enterprise stack, what we have is in the front end, we have these chatbots, virtual assistants. Okay, the middleware, we can take it as semantic search and summarizers. Okay, the backend, we can take it as data extraction, structured storage, integration with the uh, Power BI tools. Okay, business integrated tools, we call it as. Now, so we can take, if we're talking about the chatbots or virtual assistants, they will be in the front end, friends. And if you are dealing with the semantic search is where we will be going with the document searching, or if you want to extract, and the data which has been stored in your, maybe in the database, or maybe in the vector database. So from there it has to extract the data. Okay, now let's see. So friends, if the NLP, we are talking about this NLP working, it is like it is present everywhere, friends. And here the text input and data collection, text pre-processing, same thing applies here, just like your data science also. So here also, first what we have to do, we have to collect the text and the data. Okay, so data and this is what simply in terms of data science also, there also we are going to collect the data. Okay, so how can we collect the data, friends? Any idea? I just want to see. How do we collect the data, guys? Yes, friends, please answer me in the chat. Any idea how we can collect the data?
There are a few responses. Your chart is not updated.
Okay. I think my chat is not getting updated. So,
Like they are saying like web scraping,
okay.
sensors, I would spot words.
Okay. Yes, friends, web scraping is one of the best way I can say for collecting the data. Web scraping, web scraping called as web scraping is one of the way. And second way is we can go with the surveys. Okay, from where we can collect the data. Okay, so once the data is collected, friends, it has to be pre-processed. So what is this text pre-processing means? So text pre-processing means it has to be cleansed properly before before using it, just like when you're cooking a rice, right? So while you're cooking a rice, you will be cleaning the rice, and so without cleaning we are not going to cook the rice, right? Similarly, if we want to use the data, we have to remove the impurities or null data, whatever the data we have, outliers, etc. So that is what we call it as a text pre-processing. So once the text pre-processing is done, okay, next we'll be going with the text representation. So text representation is where we'll be further like checking like if anything is missing in that. I mean, if any columns or other data is missing, we'll try to restructure it. And next is the feature selection. So feature selection is where I can say that's like just now we have seen the main words which has to be taken. There is where this top words and bag of words comes into picture. So these things will be applied there. Feature selection, so which are important for us, will be going only with those words. And iteration and improvements, yes, friends. So once let us say this process is done, let us say uh, I have taken some text. Okay, let me give a small example here, friends. Okay, so I have some textbook. Let's say I have some textbook, and what I want to do is the textbook I want to convert it into a let us say entire textbook I want to convert into some instead of see some students, they want to summarize the entire textbook, and they have the habit, instead of learning the studying the textbook, they might have having to hear it. Okay, so instead of learning, going through all the notes or the textbook, what they want to summarize it. And after the summarizing, if I'm going to convert the summarized textbook to speech, okay, So let me take an example. I'm taking an example. I'm summarizing this. So each and every chapter, there's some summary, and that summary maybe are 2 or 3 pages of summary, and that the text, we are going to convert into speech. Okay. So the person might be able to understand instead of studying if it is like easier for the person to understand the speech. Okay. So there is where I'll be going with the improvements and what are the features which has to be added. Okay. So once that is done, we'll be going with the evaluation and optimization. And if you want to deploy that model, we can go with the deployment and inference, model selection and training. So this is kind of a cycle which happens. This fits for one, means this will be fitting for 1 or 2 use cases what we have. I can relate. I'll show it once we are going through the use cases, friends. So once we are done with the improvements, whatever we want to do it, okay, and after the evaluation is done, we'll be deploying the model. Okay, so once the deploying the model, we'll be getting some feedbacks from the customers. Okay, they might be saying that some can you make it instead of 1 or 2 pages of summary, can you make it as 3-page summary so that we can understand and there is much more for us to learn. Okay, so that is a feedback given by a person or some students, let us say. So we'll be taking that feedback. Okay, again we will be taking it into consideration and modify it. Okay, and we have to train it again for the 3 pages. Okay, and this cycle keeps on continuing. Okay, this is a very small example what I given, friends. Likewise, in any industry, the first and foremost step is whether it may be a NLP or data science, whatever it is. First, we'll be collecting the data. Okay, so once the data has been collected, clean it and feed it to a proper model. And when we are deploying it, okay, once the model is running properly, we'll then go with the feedback, because there is where we are going with the real time use case. So from the feedback, if the feedback is good, it's fine. The feedback we need to do some improvements or it needs some improvements, we take those improvement steps. We'll do it again. We retrain that model, and again the process keeps on going. Okay, this is what it happens in when we are working in a company. Okay, now so these are some of these, I can say that some examples where we can implement the NLP in the real-time use cases. So we can take it as a spam detection or classifications, extract any names, okay, dates or organization names, and here we call it as, okay, and sentiment analysis, friends. So this is very, very important when we are dealing with a company. Why? Because the product feedback means a lot. Product feedback means a lot to the companies. Okay, so let us say if a company is a startup, maybe a product based company, they depend upon the feedback, friends. Okay, and the customer emotions. Why? Because if you visit any Amazon website, some customers, they feel very happy and they say, yes, I've used this product and I'm really happy. Means like I can see the improvement or whatever the use case may be. Means they might have purchased maybe any shampoo or maybe some uh, gadget, whatever it is. Some customers, they'll feel unhappy because it is not up to their mark, or it may not be, they not be able to satisfy their level. Okay, so then is where we will be going with the sentiment analysis. So how we'll be doing the sentiment analysis, friends? Depending upon the text, the reviews which has been given by the users. Okay, now, so you might be having a doubt like what is a how why to do the sentiment analysis? Because let us say some users like when you're writing any review, okay, there may be some words which are, see, each we cannot go through each and every review. Okay, so what we will do is, just like one of your friends said, We will simply, am I audible, friends? Okay. So, what we will do is simply we'll go with the web scraping, friends. Simply we'll go with the web scraping. And once the web scraping is done, okay, now what we will do is from, uh, okay, let me give a small example. Let's go with the Amazon website. Okay, in the Amazon website, there is some product. Let us say, let's go with, mm, or okay, let's not go with the Amazon website. The best example can be airlines. Okay, so here is where we'll be getting appropriate response. Let's say if you are going with the airlines, friends. So airlines, or there may be reviews for the airlines. Okay, so if the passenger is happy, let us say passenger is happy, he will say, I reached the I reached the destination on time, and he'll say happy. And if the passenger is sad or angry, okay, so when these kind of sentiments, I mean, like when these kinds of reviews are given, like the flight is delayed, I'm so unhappy, I missed my meeting or something. So based upon these reviews, I'll be taking those words, okay, which are important for me, and from those words, I'll be going with the sentiment analysis, okay, and I'll be giving some numbers. So based, okay, I'll show you an example here also. Just give me a moment, friends. Okay, just give me a moment. Assistance. Mhm. Okay, so friends, here in the hugging face, we have something called as this assistance. Okay, and like here we can see we have some couple of assistants here. So okay, so let's take up some of the any of the analyzer, friends. Okay. Okay, fine, fine. Now I got it. Now I got it. So this is where the emotions. I forgot the name. So this is the chat. I mean chat assistant. What I have created. So it is created by me long back last year. So here is where I have given. So friends, here this are a paragraph which has been given by the user, and based upon that, it should be able to judge the emotions or the sentiment of the person. Okay. So copy this over here. Okay. So friends, so if I say hi, happy to. So I've just given a single line that hi, I'm happy today. So just give me a moment. It's going to analyze the sentence, and based upon uh, the query or sentence what I've given here, it's going to analyze and give me the output, friends. So if you can see friends here, it is showing 10% of surprised, 5% formal, confident, and based upon just with a single line, I mean the sentence what I've given here. So it's going to take the means it's complete, it's making up to 100%. So 30% joyful. Okay. So likewise, we can take up any review and based upon that, we can analyze. So he this is how a company takes up any queries. So it's going to make it automated and based upon that, they're going for this analysis. Okay. So this is one of the small example, friends. Next is let's go with the use cases. So use cases, now first use case, we can take it as AI chatbots, which can handle the frequently asked questions and basic tasks and which are available 24/7 and reduce the manual workloads and improves the customer satisfaction. Yes, friends. So here is where, so might be wondering how this customer support chatbot like will be helpful for us. And so when we are taking this NLP, okay, so how this NLP is applicable here? Okay, NLP is applicable if uh, hello, am I audible? Can anyone please confirm? Ravi, hello.
Ma'am, you're audible. Yeah.
Okay, okay, thank you. Because I thought I lost my signal in between, so sorry. Sorry for that.
You're audible. You're audible.
Okay, thank you. So friends, when you're talking about this NLP is applicable here in all means like in the chatbots. Okay, and if you're going with the chatbot which has a RAG, okay, so let's go with a normal chatbot. So a chatbot, how what we will do is in a chatbot we'll be training. Um, Generally, what we have in a chatbot, we'll be having the LLM, the large language model, and we will be retraining it with some data. Okay, we'll be pre-training the LLM with the company data. So what is this data, guys? Is again a text. It may be okay. One way it can be text, and if the company is any finance company, so it will be having some tables, whatever it is. Like it may be mostly it will be text only. Okay, even the number, the I mean what we have for the balance sheets, what we have, whatever it is, mostly it is in the form of a text. Okay, so wherever I told in the initial starting of the class, wherever the text is implemented, NLP comes into picture. Okay, so when we are taking the help of in the NLP, when we want the large language model to be pre-trained, Okay, so it has to be given the company data. The company data is nothing but the text. Okay, so text again, we have to take which transformer, like which sentence transformer or we have some kind of transformers, auto transformers. We have set of transformers which has to be used depending upon the model what we have taken. Okay, so here is where again the NLP comes into picture, guys. Okay, this is one of the use cases, text. So a chatbot without rack. Okay, now let's go the chatbot with rack. So first, let me introduce what do you mean by rack. So rack stands for retrieval augmented generation. Okay, so what is this rack? Why is it so superior, guys? So if you're talking about this rack, guys, so rack is where uh so in let us say if I'm taking the LLM and if I'm training it with some data, okay, so I have to spend a lot of GPU work because the LLM is not a small, it is having billions of parameters, guys. If even if you're taking any uh llama, or if you're taking any five models, these are all the LLMs. If you take a palm, you take even Quen. So all these are LLMs which will be already trained with billions of parameters. Okay. If you want to deal with billions of, if you want to train this, pre-train this. Okay. So if you want to pre-train in the sense, you want to make it learn some company data. Okay. If you want it to understand any company data, okay, which we call it as adaptive learning or pre-training, we have to rely on the GPUs. Again, this is going to increase the cost. Okay. If a company is small, it cannot go with the large cost, then it has to be relying on the rack. Okay, so this is the simple and easiest way. And again, in the rack, we'll be mostly working with the NLP. Why? Because in the rack, what we do is we will first take the document, okay, which we need, from which we want any questions to be answered. Okay, take the document. So we will be storing it in the vector database. Okay, so we will be storing the entire document in terms of vectors. So what are vector, friends? Vectors are nothing but the numbers. Okay, so let us say if this is one document. Okay, in the document I'm having some sentences here. So now this AI will be given the number of 0.43 and chatbots can be given the number 0.21. It takes up the numbers. I'm just giving some random numbers here, guys. So handle, it can take the number of 0.11. FAQ, it can take minus 0.23 and it will be stop the word. It's going to stop word. Basic tasks, yes, it may take some 0.21, a kind of. Okay. Now, we don't have a yes. If you can see here AI, and let us say if there is another word here AI in the second line, let us say the same number, that is 0.43, will be SI. Okay. So this entire this all the sentences will be stored in the vector database in the form of numbers 0.43, just like an array of numbers 0.21, 0.11. We have a reason for it, friends. Why we are storing it in terms of numbers. Okay, I'll tell you why. Now, if I'm asking any question to this chatbot, Okay, so chatbot is meant for answering the questions, right? So if I'm asking any questions regarding to AI, okay, now the AI has been given the number of 0.42. Even the query will also be turned into vector. Okay, tell me about AI. Let me, I asked a question, tell me about AI. So it's going to tell AI. It's going to take only those two words and remaining two words will be as stop words. Okay. Now the main word here is the AI. Now it's going to search in the vector database for this number 0.43. So whenever it comes across the number 0.43 or nearest number also, okay, it's going to fetch all those words from the vector database and it's going to give us back. So that is how you're able to generate the answer so quickly. So that is how your GPT, your Claude, or whatever, I mean, the tools what we are using, it can be a GPT, I mean, Chat GPT or your LLMs, what you're using nowadays, multimodal LLMs, what you're using nowadays. Though those are able to retrieve the data faster because with the help of this vector database. Got it, friends? Yeah. So this is how the RAG works. So the data will be feeding in the vector database, and based upon the query, it's going to search in the vector database and retrieve the answer. And apart from that, we have LLM also as a support in the vector database. I mean, apart from that, so LLM here takes in the RAG is going to take the help of LLM and check whether uh, from the external source whether the data is right or wrong. Okay, and at last is the generated answer will be given to the user. Okay, so this is how the RAG system works. Okay, I think I'm going a bit out of topic. So this is how NLP is applicable anywhere. So this is the first use case example, that is a chatbot. Okay. The second use case and example, it is a sentiment analysis. The sentiment analysis, just now we have seen the chat, that is a Hugging Face chat assistants. I've shown you a code. Okay. So where it can monitor the social media. Okay. So it is very impossible for a person to go through each and every comment and based upon that, go with the sentiment analysis. So instead of that, if I'm taking the entire reviews, maybe the page, 2 or 3 pages of reviews or how many pages of reviews, and if I'm feeding it to the sentiment analysis, so based upon that, it will be finally giving the output, whether it is good or bad, or the sentiments, whether the people are happy or sad, whatever it is. Okay, so based upon the last, I mean, the summarized sentiment, whether it is good, bad, or neutral, I'll be taking up a decision. Okay, so that is how this again for the sentiment analysis, NLP comes into picture. Okay, and it helps the gauge the public perception and drives marketing and the product strategy. So it helps us, and so based upon the analysis, we can take the decisions appropriately. Okay. The third use case. So these are all the use cases, guys. What we generally use in our day-to-day life in the projects, the real world projects. Okay. So contract intelligence. So it is going to extract the clauses, obligations from the legal documents. So contract intelligence means in the field of law. Okay. So or a legal. Okay. So the legal mostly people they feel tensed or they feel a bit not bit they feel exhausted going through the legal documents. Why? Because the legal documents has a lots and lots of data, and the person has to understand those legal terms also, right? So for understanding, okay, for understanding those things, first we have to go through the text. Again, when I'm talking about the text, NLP comes into picture. Okay. So how we are going to take the text? Okay. So when we are training the LLM, or else when we're taking an LLM, that when we're taking the text document, we have to go through the text document, it has to understand. Okay. And whenever a person, maybe a lawyer or maybe the user, is asking any question from that particular document, okay, it's going to answer without any error. Why? Because already, so let's say here also the RAG comes into picture, guys. We can take the help of a RAG for this contract intelligence. Okay. So whenever we're feeding some legal documents to the RAG, okay, it's going to take the documents, read it, and if I'm asking any question, let us say, if I'm going through any civil court case, okay, where there is any clauses which are present. If I'm asking any question regarding some clause, is this can I go? Is there any loophole? I'm just going to give. See what I will do. I'll just feed the case document and the reference document. Okay, I'm going to feed the case document of the person and also the reference document. So based upon these two documents, if I ask any question, so whether this can be done. So what it does, it depends upon the NLP and the RAG system. It's going to depend upon the LLMs, and based upon that, it's going to give the answer. Okay, already we have pre-trained our LLM with maybe uh, some legal data. Okay, then it's able to answer these questions, and which is going to reduce the human error. At the same time, it's going to reduce the time gap taken by the lawyer to understand the document and act accordingly. And it also can give us some suggestions. Instead of going this way, we have a loophole here, and you can take up this step. Okay, so this is the one of the use cases, guys, where we can where NLP is used and we can succeed. Okay. The fourth use case is the voice customer analysis. Okay. So, so here is where we can say the text to speech and speech to text comes into picture. Okay. And here, if I can see the best like enterprise example here is translators. Okay. So how these translators can be done here? Let us say if the client understands Spanish, but the document here is in English. Okay, now what? So this is a real-time use case what we can take into picture. Okay, now the client can understand Spanish, he cannot understand English, but we can understand English, we cannot understand Spanish. Okay, now simple, take the help of NLP. In NLP, we have these translators, guys. So translators in the sense we'll be having some transformers there. The help of that, we are be able to convert English to Spanish and Spanish to English back. And if the client wants in terms of speech, okay, so Spanish to, English, which has been converted, it's in terms of text. Again, this text we can convert in terms of speech, English. Okay. And let's say if I'm giving some reply in English, okay, English reply will be converted into Spanish, and that Spanish again can be converted into speech or Spanish. So this is one of the use case, guys, which breaks the barrier, this language barrier between the countries. And we can take up, we can go with any of this, and we can, if you want, if we can talk to the client in a very smooth way. Okay. And now here, coming to this and voice customer analysis, guys. So here is where if you're going with the analysis of any surveys or feedbacks. Okay. And also it can identify the churn risks and also the satisfaction of driver. I mean, so the churn risk in the sense here, okay, the feedback, let us say we have taken the sentiment analysis, or else we have taken the text, I mean, the reviews feedback, and from there we have got some good or bad review. Okay. Now, what is this churn risk? Any idea, guys? What do you mean by churn risk? Churn risk comes into picture when when you're talking, means like when there is a company, okay, and if let us say, let me give an example. Um, okay, I'll take a product, maybe a laptop. Okay, Dell laptop. So if I'm taking the help of a Dell laptop, so what is the use of this Dell? I mean, it's like let's say uh, the percentage. I mean, so why am I trying this? The percentage usage of the Dell laptop is coming down the hill. Let us say. So this is what we call it as a else we can call it as a churn risk. Just a moment. హలో అక్క. హలో అక్క. అక్క చెప్పు. అక్క నేను కొంచెం మీటింగ్ ఉన్నాను. ఏంటి? అక్క నేను మీటింగ్ లో ఉన్నాను. అక్క నేను మళ్ళీ కాల్ చేస్తాను. బాయ్. Sorry. So friends, when we are taking any product, okay, so product, if it is going down the hill, so that is what we call it as a churn risk. Okay, so when we are feeding any product and its feedback to the system, and it is able to predict and is going to give us uh, and it's going to identify the churn risks. Okay, so based upon the feedback being given by the customers. Okay, now this is one of the use case, guys. So fifth use case, we can take it as resume parsing and matching. So nowadays we have many platforms which is available for resumes. Okay. So here CVs, if you're taking, so mostly what we do, we have something called as job description. Okay. We call it as something called as job description. So now the company is going to hire a person. The company is hiring a person, the company is going to put some JD, its requirements, job description, like what are the requirements the company is looking for, right? So if the person is meeting those requirements, then the CV will be shortlisted. Okay. So how to match the skills and experience to the job roles? So this is being taken care by the NLP. Okay, so matching the skills and the experience. So depending upon what are the we have something called as a cosine similarity. Okay, so if two words, let us say, I have given the job description something called as Java, data science, and some tools like PyTorch, NVIDIA, etc. Okay, so this is the company JD, and let us say this is the uh, student student or the person CV. Okay, the CV in the skill set If the person is having the skill of data science, PyTorch, NVIDIA. Okay. Now, when I apply this cosine similarity, it's going to take the similar words, but here I'm given as DS. So friends, don't make a mistake like this. So before applying to any job, just go to the job description and almost keep it as same as it is. Okay. And go with the PyTorch. Yes, the PyTorch is mapped here and NVIDIA. Okay. So now out of five requirements, okay, out of five requirements, three requirements has been fulfilled by the CV skill set of the person who is applying for the job. Okay, now I can shortlist this, shortlist the CV. Okay, so this is how again the NLP comes into picture, and we can shortlist or we can just ignore that CV. Okay, let's go with the sixth one. So document summarization, guys. So document summarization again, it is like the reports and meeting notes. The we call it as MOM, minutes of moment, minutes of the meeting. Okay. So again, if we are using any speech to text, okay. So almost the meetings. Okay, meetings will be verbal meetings, like mostly like we'll be talking in the meeting. So that is what we have in the speech. So if the speech, if you're connecting it to text, okay, now it is very easy for us. And this text can be summarized, okay, and can be made as minutes, MOM, and can be sent to the employees as a reminder. I mean, maybe there, let us say, if any important meeting is going on and some discussion has been going on, there is a chance that the persons might, employees might uh, forget. Okay. So instead of forgetting, if you are just summarizing them in terms of MOM and sending it back to the employees, okay. So we can summarize them with the help of the speech to text and send it back to the employees, maybe through email. Okay. So this is also one of the use case where NLP comes into picture, guys. And next one is we have AI powered search engines. So here where we semantic search using the embeddings improves internet. Yes. So two ways here, guys. Text to text, speech to text. Okay. So if I'm AI powered in a sense, okay. So here, if I'm typing any text, let us say, let's take an example of Google only. So if I'm typing there, uh, uh, weather, okay. So if I'm just typing weather, then what happens, guys? So it's going to say weather today. Immediately, this prompt will come up. Okay. So how it is going to come up? Because already this has been like it's going to predict and it's going to give us weather today. Okay. Or else if I in the speech, even if I say weather, the form of speech that will be converted into text again, and it's going to give the next word prediction as today. Okay. So that is one of the way predict in terms of prediction also we can go with the NLP. And here in this use case, what they're saying is semantic search using the embeddings. So embeddings is nothing but a kind of vectors only. Okay. Uh, kind of search how we do depending upon the, I mean, the sentence what we are given here. Okay. Next one is the financial news analysis. So if you're talking about the financial news analysis, here also I told you in the finance we'll be having at least 20 to 50 pages of documents or even 100 pages of documents. So they'll be having a lots of clauses which we have to understand. So for ordinary people, it's not, will not be able to understand. Okay. So again, what we have to do, we have to take the entire document, text document, understand the document, and we have to draw insights. Means we have to understand, we have to should be able to draw the insights. Maybe let us say if I'm asking, it is a 50-page document is there, a finance document, and in the 50-page finance document, if I want to ask a question, what is the profit for the year in the second quarter of year 2023, let us say. Okay, they say the 50, if 5 years of financial something is there, document is there. So if I'm asking what is the profit of XYZ product for the for the year second quarter of 2023. Okay, then what it has to do, it has to go and fetch the particular words which has been given to me from the vector database. It's going to search and it's going to come back with some answer, relevant answer. Okay, from that we can take up the insights. I mean, we can get a summarized version what we have, and based upon that we can take up the decisions whether to, I mean, the profit is good, we can go with the investment decision. If not, we can drop our decisions. Okay. Next, guys, we have another use case. We call it as intelligent email routing. So, which can classifies and redirects email to the right team. Okay. Let us say if in a company, what generally happens, person will be raising tickets. Employees will be raising tickets. Okay. Let us say if there is a problem in the dev team. Okay. The ticket has been raised by the dev team. That is maybe some AWS, the port is not working or something. There is some issue there. Okay. Then this ticket has to be enrouted only to the dev team. Okay, not to the entire team which is comprised of AI, which is comprised of another Java team or whatever the teams which are present in the company. So it has to be related only to the dev team to avoid the unnecessary, I mean, unnecessary ambiguity of the mails and all. So here is where the NLP again comes into picture. So it's going to, based upon the ticket raised, okay, it's going to read what is in the ticket and what are the things which has to be done, and those particular mail will be directed only to the dev team. Okay, this is the one of the use cases. Instead of pumping entire our Gmail with lots and lots of emails from different teams, it's better to enroll it to the particular team. Okay, that is how we can take care of this. So, in the last one is the healthcare record, friends. So, this is a very important field where the NLP can come and help us here. Why? Because it can extract the symptoms and diagnosis from the from images which has been fed to it. Okay. Here also it is having an unstructured data. So from the unstructured data, it's going to extract it, whether it may be image, whether it may be or any, diagnosis, and from that, okay, it can help us make any decision. Let us say if a person is having some uh, maybe some trauma, abdominal trauma, let us say. So based upon the MRI scan, or not MRI exactly, maybe the normal scan, what we CT scan images. Okay, so if we are training our system with the CT scan images, and this this person's scan is mapping with the trauma image, then we can say the person is having some abdominal trauma in the left quadrant, or that they'll be having some medical terms there, guys. So based upon that exact spot, where the person has been, a trauma has been given, so that will be listed out by this, by the intelligence system, and it will be taken care by that. So when the doctor goes through that document, so instead of checking the entire the image and all, if you're feeding it to this AI, the chat, the system what we have built here is going to diagnose, and it's going to uh, decrease the time gap which will be taken for this continuous, I mean, diagnosis and all. Okay. So these are the different use cases. Some of the use cases, not I've just taken only 10 use cases, guys. So we can, if you think, you can explore more and you can come up with lot many ideas. So generally, the general general ways where this NLP is being used here in enterprises. So I've just given those examples, guys. Okay. So architecture of if you're talking about this enterprise NLP pipeline, so here we'll be having the APIs and token, I mean document uploads, and we'll be having the tokenization and also. And in the embedding layer, we'll be having the BERT. BERT is nothing but our bidirectional encoder, and we call it as LLM. Okay, and we have fine-tuned transformers, LLM. So these are kind of architecture what we have, guys. So talking about the tools and platform. So we have a development tools called as Spacey, Hugging Face. So Hugging Face is an open source, guys. Okay. And Pinecone. So Pinecone is a vector database, and Weavit is also a vector database. Okay. And for deployment, the cheap and I'll not say cheap, but it's a free of cost. We Streamlit is a free of cost, guys. You might be having idea of it. So Streamlit is free of cost and it's very easier for any person to deploy our model in the Streamlit. Okay. And apart from that, we have multimodal. We have different GPTs like Claude, Gemini, Azure. We have different services which has been going on nowadays. Okay. So we are talking about the challenges in the enterprise NLP friends. We have to be very careful. We have to take the help. We have to be uh, we have to keep in our mind about the data sensitivity, because if it is any patient record, that obviously we have to take the data sensitivity. Not only that, if it is a company details also, the secrecy has to be maintained, the privacy has to be maintained there. Okay. And domain specific jargons, that is like it should be customized. Let us say if I'm pre-training my model, okay, and it should be biased and fairness has to be maintained. That means if I'm pre-training a model, if I'm taking any data, if I'm feeding a cleansed data, okay, then I'll say it is fair data. Okay, I'll say it is unbiased data. But if my data is not cleaned properly, then there is a chance that it is biased data and will not get the output properly. Okay. And also coming to the evaluation, so proper depending upon the metrics, we have to keep an eye on the blue and route score. And if the score is perfect, then we can go with that model. Or else we have to keep training on that model so that we will be getting a perfect score. Okay. So guys, coming to this, so here is NLP trans. Means like it's simple. We are going to take the unstructured data and from the unstructured data, we want to get some insights. We want to get some output. We want to get some answers from the data. So where there is where the NLP comes into picture, guys. And NLP can be used in HR, legal, healthcare, or finance systems anywhere. Okay, so we have a huge scope. Without NLP, 80% of work cannot be done. Okay, so it is applicable in architecture and governance. Means it is a main key for our all this existence of the GPT or Claude or whatever system we are using right now. Okay, so that's it, guys. So if you have any questions